Joining us now, someone familiar to Chicagoans, of course, is the former police superintendent, Garry McCarthy, current police chief of Willow Springs. Is the city ready from what you see for this big event?
I'm not positive. I know that we did a lot of work for about 8 months before the NATO summit, and we weren't facing the same things. There's a threat of international terrorism that for a time kind of waned. But there's also the Israel-Palestinian thing that's going on. And they're also down, I think, about 3,000 officers, something like that. Those are the numbers I've heard. I don't have any inside information.
So is your gut telling you, would you tell your loved ones, stay away from Chicago?
Well, I think it's just practical, and not because it's dangerous. It's just going to be annoying, if nothing else, to not be able to drive places because there's going to be big crowds. There's going to be protests. They're going to shut down streets here and there. And even if it's just like NATO, where they walked around and we walked with them a lot, that's going to affect traffic and just the ambiance of Chicago.
What about the training since NATO? Is there a difference in what you tell police officers in interacting with those protesters?
I don't think that the training is different, but it's a perishable skill. I mean, we did it 12 years ago. And if there wasn't some sort of a serious refresher, and God knows how many of those officers from NATO are still here, right? If there wasn't some serious refresher training and training up to the level that we had a plan, we had communications, we had leadership, we equipped, and we executed. And, that's why it went as well as it did.
Okay, we saw with the Trump attempted assassination that there was a miscommunication, or maybe it's a not communication, what's the right word, between the feds and the local police. How do we make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, first of all, it's incomprehensible to me. There has to be, when you're having a multi-agency event like Secret Service, FBI, and local policing, there has to be a command post with somebody sitting there from each one of those agencies. Could be that simple. You could be sitting in a trailer with a cell phone and a radio. So if we get information, we give it to them. They put it out to their people. If they get information, they put it out to us. It's incomprehensible that happened.
And, you witnessed that at 9/11 in New York. Tell us what you saw that. Here you were right there. You would think, some 24 years later, we have not learned how the feds and the locals communicate yet?
Well, I hate to say this, but I want to go back to the Boston bombing because I was the superintendent here when it happened. And my FBI counterpart here was outstanding. And Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there was no information coming in. I leave his office Wednesday afternoon. I come back to my office. I turn on the TV, and on CNN, they're showing the Sarnev brothers. The FBI didn't tell Chicago FBI about that. So, there's some cultural issues where people hold on to information. I thought we got over it, like you said, after 9/11. After 9/11, we were like, why didn't you tell us about this? They're like, well, you didn't have the clearances. So we all got the clearances. Guess what? Still, we don't hear.
All right, so what will you tell? You said you hope they're ready. You're cautiously optimistic, but your final thought to viewers who are watching, what would you tell them for next week?
Rest up. Of course, you're gonna be on your feet a lot. Take care of each other. Execute the plans that you've made, and I hope that the leadership provides leadership. That made an enormous difference during NATO. The entire executive staff was out there. And I couldn't be more proud of the way we executed our plans back then.
Well, we appreciate your expertise in telling us how to look out for what's ahead. Thanks so much, Garry McCarthy.
My pleasure, Marianne. Thank you.